Hi, this is Arthur Carmazzi, and we are ready to start. And if you don't already know who I am Arthur Carmazzi, founder of the Directive Communication Psychology and currently ranked as one of the top 10 thought leaders in the leadership arena, as well as a best-selling author. And today, of course, we are going to be talking about what is directive communication psychology. So any questions you may have, just go ahead, put them into the chat box. My friend over here, Agus, is going to be answering these questions, and we may not be able to get to all the questions immediately, but we will definitely be getting to your questions. So we are ready to start, but I just want to give you a little bit of an idea. This is not an ordinary presentation. This is a story. This is a story of how directive communication basically works and where it comes from, and basically how it's going to help you to develop your skills as a leader, develop your skills as a trainer, develop your ability to have better, more passionate, powerful relationships, and basically help you to have less stress and more happiness in your life. Yes, all of this with one methodology, directive communication psychology. So let's get going. Okay, so here's the scene for our story. It is modern day, and the characters in our story are Rama, who is a monkey, and he is the hero of our story. And as heroes go, he has courage, he does make mistakes, but he, well, basically moves on, and he tries to be the best that he can be. Then there's Mary. Mary is the observer in our story. Mary is very intelligent. Mary is very capable. Unfortunately, Mary actually lacks courage and really doesn't like conflict, in which case that also means that Mary is, well, basically not going to say something when she is confronted, or for that matter, when she feels that maybe there's a little bit of conflict. So oftentimes Mary is very frustrated because she keeps quiet when she knows possibly a better way to do things than her boss. And then, of course, we have Jack. Jack is the villain of our story. And, well, essentially, as a villain, he is, well, a lizard, and he reacts to things, and he kind of, goes a little bit crazy, and he blames people, and he does things, and, well, here's the thing. Have you ever been Jack? Have you ever kind of gone a little bit crazy, blame people, react to stuff, kind of be the person that maybe people don't really want to be around? But let me ask you another question. Have you also been like Mary? Have you been in a situation where you also have literally not said anything, even though you know it was a better way, but you just didn't say anything, you just kept quiet because you just didn't want to deal with the conflict? Or also, have you been the hero? Have you been that person that no matter what is in your way, you know you can make it happen, you get people excited, you get people motivated, even though you've made mistakes, you keep on going, and you have that courage and you make things happen? Chances are you've been all three. And that basically is the premise of our characters. Each of them is a part of us. And these parts essentially are what directive communication psychology deal with. The different parts of who we are, the hero, the villain, and, for that matter, the observer. So they're on their way to the Directive Communication Psychology Lab. And in the Directive Communication Psychology Lab, they're going to find this awesome new training system that's going to make sustainable change, and it's going to be easy, and it's basically going to create an environment where people's behavior supports success for each other. So let me ask you a question. What do your participants want? In reality, when you are in a training program, when you are dealing with people in a team, when you are a team leader, it doesn't really matter, okay? Here's what people want. They want you to solve their problem. I mean, whatever it is, they may have a problem. They want you as a leader, as a trainer, as a coach, they want you to solve their problem, okay? Or they want you to really help them to fix it themselves. They want you to teach them. They want you to, kind of give them the tools, the knowledge, the skill, the ability to help them fix it themselves so that they can also kind of learn and grow. And they also want it to be easy. So if we are going to create a methodology, or if we're going to use or apply a methodology that's going to make things better, well, it's got to be easy to understand, because you know what? Not everybody's a PhD. Not everybody has degrees in HR and leadership, and is not, not everybody is going to be as smart as potentially you are. And so therefore, it needs to be easy to understand and easy to apply. And so our travelers go off, and as they're on their way, they find a construction site. And in this construction site, they see two different kinds of people. They basically see the lizards in one area, and they see that they're not really being very productive, and they're not really being very effective. And then they also see the monkeys, the heroes. Then they are being very effective. So why? What is the difference? And if we are going to solve problems, if we're going to help people to be better, be the best that they can be, well, basically, we have to find out what the real problem is. It's not the people. The people in the environment, how the people are reacting to the environment, that is the real problem. It's not the people. Because, see, when people get busy, they start reacting. They start becoming lizards. They start using that lizard part of their brain instead of the intelligent part of their brain. And so, therefore, they react to each other. They are reacting within the environment. If you have ever had a room full of lizards and you scare one of them, what happens to the rest? They all freak out. Okay? It's the same thing in a working environment or a classroom environment. Okay? If you are in a position where you have an environment that supports reaction, supports blame, supports people basically not being their best, well, you're going to get a bunch of lizards. Okay? So, on the other hand, though, we want to get people to be the heroes. Okay? We want people to really move forward, to have the courage to be calm in crisis, to be able to deal with things intelligently instead of react to things. Okay? So this is the foundations of where essentially directive communication comes from. Now, Mary, finally, she finds the first thing that is required in order to be a better hero. She finds the scroll of environment. Dun, dun, dun! And in the scroll of environment, basically, you see a couple of things. Okay? You see you in the middle, and then you see all these other little people around you. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you have friends? Okay? Not friends on Facebook. I mean, like real ones that you actually deal with in person. Okay, so let's assume you do. And so when you are dealing with your friends, do you find that when you're with at least one particular group of friends, that those group of friends that bring out certain facets of who you are? In other words, you act differently with that group of friends than maybe you do at work? Or maybe you act differently with those group of friends or at work than you do with your family. In fact, each environment, doesn't it bring out different facets of who you are? And even with a different group of friends, you act differently with a different group of friends than you do with that group of friends. Why? Are you being congruent? Are you suddenly deciding, no, I'm going to change my way of acting? Or is it a natural process that brings out parts of who you are? And this is where directive communication psychology comes in. The science of environment. Now let me ask you a question. Have you ever had problems that have consistently appeared in different work environments? Let's say different jobs. If you've had different jobs, have you ever had basically the same problems that appear in different jobs? Maybe not all of the same problems, but some problems that basically appear in different jobs. What is the common denominator? And the common denominator is basically you. You are the common denominator, okay? Wherever you go, there you are. And so this is the good news. It means that you as an individual, you as a leader, you as a trainer, you as somebody that is empowering others to be awesome, have the ability, have the power to make small modifications in your behavior that will literally affect the entire group. Imagine this. Imagine that you go out with your friends, and let's say you're normally kind of a laid-back guy, and you're kind of going out with your friends, and you're talking about work stuff, okay, and maybe some family stuff, and you go to this favorite restaurant that you always go to. Now, let's say you go to the same restaurant, you talk about the same stuff, but instead of kind of being laid back, you're a little bit excited. It's like, whoa, look at what they did this at work, and like, what I did this at work. Would it change the environment? Would it change how your friends reacted and behaved in that environment? And, well, you're probably saying yes, okay, because it would. And so, imagine what happens if you knew all of the facets of why that happens. What happens if you knew what little tweaks to make in your behavior to affect the environment in such a way where you are in control? You are creating an environment of heroes instead of an environment of lizards. If you knew exactly where to go. And that's what we're going to be talking about when we teach you, or I share with you the directive communication models. And so off we go to the directive communication labs. Dun, dun, dun! And inside of the labs, we have Professor Monkey, and he's basically teaching us how people are affected by the environment. And of course, we have the different processes, okay, unaligned values, we have reaction, conflict, peer pressure, fear, unfulfilled expectations, and of course, low confidence, okay? So, but the biggest thing of how people are essentially affected negatively, usually in this case, okay, by their environment is because they are unaware. They are unaware of why things happen. Imagine if suddenly you go into a room, a dark room, and suddenly the lights go on, but you've never encountered electricity or lights before, and there's suddenly just lights everywhere. Do you think you might freak out a little bit? Possible, okay? But if you knew that there was a switch and you could turn that switch on and you could have light and you were aware of electricity, you could use it as a tool. And this is essentially what we're dealing with directive communication psychology. It is finding the awareness of why all of these things happen and basically how to take control. Now, how people change. This is also important because if we're going to create behavior change, we have to know, well, what is it? How do people change? What are the factors that people change? Okay? Emotional turmoil definitely can make you change, positive or negative. Okay? Purpose, having a purpose can make you change. Practice can make you change. Reflection, experience, failure, okay? Emotional connection, kind of connecting with that person is like, wow, I'll do whatever you want. Okay? And of course, even, the application of success. Oh, look at what I've done. I've already succeeded in this, and you feel successful, and so you keep on trying, you keep on moving. It changes your state. Okay? Peer pressure. We've all been there. And of course, self-realization. But once again, awareness helps you to make behavior change. If you are suddenly aware that a specific action that you are doing, which you didn't even know about, is, let's say, affecting your partner in a negative way, somebody you care about, somebody you really appreciate, and you're doing something that they've never mentioned before, ever. And suddenly one day they just say, you know what, that thing that you do, it just makes me absolutely crazy, and I'm always, feeling down and gloomy every time it happens. If you didn't know and suddenly you become aware, is it possible that you'd want to change? So, the next one, the DC delivery process. Well, you have to have a delivery process in the directive communication system in order to basically affect change, affect the environment to get change. So we use reflection. Of course, we use colored brain processing, action processing. Okay, action processing is a series of actions that are taken that are connected to each other. Okay, and this is what we call stacking when we do these different exercises. Hypnotic suggestion. Now we're not like woo kind of stuff. Hypnotic suggestion is actually done through questions, it's done through stories, and it's crafted very specifically. It's done through visualization processes, okay? It's done through the different exercises that we create and how we frame certain results, okay? It is basically done in such a way where we also use music and get people to see them applying and using and achieving certain things that they are learning in the process. Okay, of course, cognitive thinking, alpha state introspection. This is where you literally get down into an alpha state. We also use music for this and to do a review so that you understand, not only understand, but also retain, and it becomes more implementable. And of course, the most powerful, emotional introspection, where it is connected to your emotions. Okay? And so we go to the directive communication lab itself, and here are the directive communication models. Okay, so of course Rama and Jack have got their little radars on, and this model is basically the model of focus and deletion. Okay? When you focus on something, you delete other things. And this can have major ramifications when you are dealing with people and you need to deal with them in positive ways that are going to help them achieve objectives instead of demotivating them and deflating them so that they become underachievers. Okay? Of course, we have the don't react, act intelligently model, which is basically about using your cognitive brain instead of your lizard brain. And there are certain things that happen in order to do that. The no blame zone, okay, absolutely essential for developing trust. And there is a very specific process in order to achieve a no blame zone in an organization that creates trust and, of course, offers alternatives to blame that help people to improve their ability to develop their skills, so it improves competence. At the same time, it improves engagement and respect of the leaders within the organization. Okay? Directive questions, hypnotic processes by which we help to get people to direct their focus into things that are going to support their success and objectives. Okay? Then there's your why, your emotional drives, okay? Primary motivators that in the right mix, well, basically can achieve anything. You can create absolute motivation, but there's also the factors of need sucking within the emotional drive model, which basically means that there's sometimes that people accidentally do stuff that ends up making you basically feel bad because they're accidentally taking away some of the emotional motivators that you have. And they don't even realize it. People oftentimes are accidentally taking away people's personal emotional gratifications from something without even realizing it. And understanding how that works and why it works and why you do what you do and why you react to these things is a very powerful thing when it comes to achieving your greater self. And then, of course, there's identity. The identity process is one of the most powerful models within the directive communication psychology framework. Basically, the idea is that if you have a specific model of, in order to be a better leader, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this, chances are it's not sustainable. Why? Well, because you're not like that all the time. And if it's not congruent with who you are, your identity, well, then it's going to be really difficult to sustain. So the identity model literally helps you to go into all these different parts of your environments, with your children, with your family, with your friends, at different parts of work, with your superiors maybe, okay? And it helps you to take out these elements of who you are at your best and create and refine them into your own ideal leadership model, your own ideal communication model, your own ideal, basically, awesomeness model of who you are. And then, of course, the mind-body connection with postures, how to create moods in an organization, in a group, within less than 5 minutes using the concept of the mind-body connection and these postures, which are this kind of a yoga-based modification of breathing and focus, and, for that matter, the how you hold your body. And then, of course, our most popular, and most widely globally used model is colored brain. And this is how you do things, how you interpret information, how you get clarity, how you need to get things in order in your brain before you can take action. Okay? So the colored brain model is only one thing. It's how you do things. It has nothing to do with why you do things, nothing to do with whether you're introvert or extrovert. It is only how you get clarity and how you process that clarity in order to take action. That's it. Okay? But that one thing is the foundation of why people basically have massive amounts of conflict, because oftentimes people focus on the process, how you do things, instead of the actual objective. And that, of course, causes conflict, causes problems, causes people to feel like, oh, gosh, nobody listens to me, nobody respects me, nobody understands me. Or sometimes people just feel like, my gosh, I should be more organized and I'm not, and I feel kind of, bad about myself. And it's like, because different brain processes have different ways of organizing things, and sometimes we beat ourselves up because we're not aware of our own process. And so therefore we look at other people's process and we think we should be like them, and we try to emulate it and it doesn't work. Well, hello, because you literally have a genetic way of processing your information. We'll go a little bit into that later. And of course, the culture model. And the culture model, we have a 100% success rate in literally transforming organizational cultures. And these cultures are seeing visible results within 2 weeks. And within 80 days, there is a sustainable culture that is put in place in an organization. Now, that culture is usually more engaged, it is more communicative, it is essentially a leadership-enriched culture where people, regardless of what their position is, are taking on leadership roles to make things happen from an objective perspective, reaching objectives and supporting each other to do it. Okay? So these are the basic models. Now, there are specific distinctive processes, and once Rama finds this, he's going to get the super suit of awesomeness. Dun, dun, dun! And so let's look at some of these processes. First of all, we have proprietary tools. Okay? We have very specific directive communication psychology-based tools that help you to essentially have fun, retain more information, implement more stuff, and, well, basically all this stuff while you are learning and having fun and supporting the other people within the group. Okay? Now, this can be from a perspective of developing your teams to be more effective, or it can be developing a classroom. Okay? Stacked learning. We discussed this briefly before. Stacked learning is when you have one thing that you learn, and then you've got the next thing that you learn, but then you've overlapped them so that people reinforce this last thing, but now that last thing is also connected to this thing. So you have more references, which basically means more connections to the same knowledge, which basically means more retention, which means more options when it comes to implementation. And boom, 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 boom. Overlaps of all of the knowledge so that it all connects, and connects in a practical way. Then, of course, the 5 levels of music. So we do music in our training courses, and using music actually helps you to develop different emotional and brain wave states. For example, when you are learning in alpha state, you have more retention. But at the same time, you don't want to be in alpha state all the time because then it gets boring and you can fall asleep. So you want to get different levels of music that are for very specific factors of the internalization of gaining something new, and this can even be used when you're doing an accounting presentation. Yes, accounting can be interesting when you're showing the numbers on the screen if you use music in the right way. So, finally, no, not finally, okay, story-based training. Now, everybody tells stories, okay? Stories are nothing new, but when we tell stories, whether you are a leader, whether you are a trainer, the structure of the stories, having the psychological foundations of literally hypnotic processes or hypnotic suggestions within the story, connecting emotions to outcomes within the story, makes a huge, huge impact on implementation. 3 levels of inspiration. So this is a basic process that we use in order to get people to see the bigger picture. Sometimes, you think, oh, if I'm a better communicator, well, I'll get this. And, well, that's all they see. But then, with the 3 levels of inspiration, you can see how being that, better communicator will not only help you to improve your situation at work, will not only help you to improve your situation maybe with your family, will not only improve your situation with your friends, but it'll also help you to have more influence, because as a better communicator, you have more influence, okay? And with more influence, then you're able to support people to improve themselves in the process. And when people improve themselves in the process, well then, that takes them to, higher levels and higher levels and higher levels until finally you see like, wow, being a better communicator can literally help me to make a huge impact. And showing how that impact affects you and affects the people that you care about is part of the 3 levels of inspiration process, okay? Evaluation boosters. In training, of course, we want to get better evaluations. As managers, of course, 360, we want to get better evaluations. So, there are specific things that we do in order to get people to really see the benefits that you have achieved for them. And it's a simple process that supports, this is not unethical in any way. If you don't do good things for people, it's not going to work, okay? But as long as you are literally trying to support and develop people and you're doing it in a positive way, using the evaluation booster process will help you to get better evaluations, get people to really appreciate you, respect you, and admire you even more than not using something like this where it keeps it at status quo. Then, of course, subliminal upsells. Now, upsells can be in any kind of a situation. I mean, think about it, okay? If you see somebody that you like before you got married, okay, I mean, you kind of smile, you say hi, maybe you're shy, I don't know, but the thing is that you want to kind of upsell them on, maybe the next level of the relationship, or, maybe let's like start with coffee and then maybe go to dinner, okay? You don't go up to somebody and say, hey, let's get married, okay? So the subliminal upsells help you to basically upsell. Now, if you're in training, of course, you want to upsell to the next training. If you're a leader or a manager, you want to upsell to that next level that they can achieve in their career. So upsells, subliminal upsells, and how we apply this on a regular, consistent, subconscious basis supports the success of the people you're working with. And, of course, sustainability props, okay? You need sustainability, no matter whether you're developing team members to be excited and engaged, or whether you're developing people in a training room. You need them. Whatever it is that you're doing, it needs to be sustainable. It can't just be for like, okay, hey, we finished this training, now let's just go back to the way we were. Or, oh, we did this little thing with the manager, and so, okay, now, that was fun, and we were engaged, but now it's over, okay? Sustainability is absolutely essential, okay? And emotive story structure, okay, well, okay, actually, this is where we, okay, sorry, I had made a mistake. Story-based training, well, this is what we're doing right now. Story-based training, in this case, means that we create stories around the entire training. And the emotive story structure, this is where we're talking about, creating the emotional and psychological perspectives of story, okay, in order to support the improvements and the subliminal unconscious influence to be the best that people can be. And of course, the story-based structure, story-based training means that instead of just kind of giving you slides, we're actually telling you a story. In this case, we're telling you a story about Jack, Rama, and Mary and how they're doing stuff. And, so you connect the little bits and pieces of the story because you remember the characters and what they're doing. And of course, finally, the subjective challenge association. Okay, so we all are looking to, get challenged, but again, these are not objective challenges. Everything is related to us. Okay, what is the next level? What is the next challenge? What is the next thing that we want to achieve? And connecting the benefits of a job or an action to that next level of what you want to achieve, that next challenge, that next thing to bring you to the next level. That is another one of the distinctive directive communication processes. And so now Rama gets the super suit of awesomeness. Dun, dun, dun! And so he decides he's going to go to a concert to celebrate. And so he and Mary and Jack go to see Clarity, the band that is like so cool. Now, of course, Jack, he's not really into this music, so he's kind of like, but if Rama can get a few insights from this band, from listening to what and watching how these multiple different types of beings are on the stage and what they're doing and how they're acting and maybe get some insights out of it, he is going to get the rainbow glasses of clarity. Dun, dun, dun! And so, first thing he notices is the guitar player. And the guitar player is going, dun, dun, dun. And as Rama looks closer, he notices that this guitar player has a green brain. Now, as you will see, the green brain has chaotic processing. Now, I'm not going to go into major detail on the colored brain, but this is the foundation of the colored brain, the genetic way that we process information. And the green brain is one of the colors in the colored brain model. Now, you're saying, Arthur, okay, genetic foundation, but what about neuroplasticity? Yes, neuroplasticity is real, and what we're talking about here is the foundational way of processing, not behaviors that you develop over time. Okay, so this is how you interpret and process information. Kind of like if you have a Motorola chip, it's going to process information differently than a Intel chip. So it is absolutely essential that you remember that this is not about personality. This is only about how people interpret and process information. Okay? Got it? All right. Okay, so anyway, green brain, chaotic processing, nothing's connected. Because nothing is connected, well, basically that means they can connect things in any way. But here's the thing. Aside from the various other aspects of green brain, one of the key factors of green brain is that they get clarity through taking action. They are required internally to start taking action, to start moving, to start kind of connecting with people and getting more and asking questions in order to get clarity. They need to take action to get clarity. Now, that can cause some issues. Okay? Now, again, because of the nature of this webinar, I'm not going to go into the whole aspect of colored brain. Okay? So we'll just go on to the next colored brain. All right? Now, next colored brain, purple brain. All right? Purple brain, essentially, everything is connected, but everything is connected through data. Now, a purple brain, they get information, and the more information that they get, the more clear things become. All right? So they don't feel comfortable until they really have clarity. But in order to have clarity, they don't feel comfortable in taking action until they have clarity. And in order to get clarity, they will need lots of information, details. Now, once they have all of these details, okay, then they cross-reference all this stuff and they create options out of these details. And once they create these options, now they can go ahead and say, okay, this option here is the best option, and then they can take action. Now, let's just say, for example, if a green brain makes a mistake. Green brains actually make the most mistake of any of the brain colors. But they also recover faster from their mistakes than any other brain colors. Okay? Purple brains, if they make a mistake, no problem. They just do a little bit more research, okay? And with the remaining options, make sure they get more information just to make sure that the options are right, and then they pick the second option. Okay? Now, once they have that option, well, then it becomes easier to take action. Now, the next one, the red brain. Okay? With the red brain, they essentially connect things through analysis. Okay? So, cross-referencing, this is called linear processing. Now, with linear processing, you take this, take that, take that, take that, take that, take that, equals this. So once you study something well enough, you are able to see the different parts of it. Now, red brains do not need all of the information. They just need the important factors, the main components, in order to essentially take it apart, analyze it, look at it, cross-reference it. Okay? Once they have that, then they put it into chunks and chunks and chunks until they have an outline, a clear outline of what they want to achieve, or the goal or the idea or the plan that they want to achieve. And then make sure that that clarity is there and cross-reference it again. Basically just check it against everything else. And once that seems to be absolutely clear, then they're going to feel more comfortable in order to take action. Now, if a red brain makes a mistake, or basically they get to the end and it didn't work out the way that it is, they actually have to start all the way at the beginning. It's like, oh no, the facts must be wrong. So what happens is you've got this red brain, and the red brains actually make least mistakes of any other brain color. But if they do make a mistake, well, it just takes a lot longer. It takes the longest of any other brain color to usually recover from those mistakes. So that is one component of how the red brain processes and takes action. Now, the next one is the blue brain. Now, with the blue brain, everything is connected. And it's all connected in kind of like this feeling. Now, this is not to confuse that blue brains are emotional people, but they feel things. So blue brains actually process by connecting to subconscious experience. Now here's the problem. With your subconscious experience, you don't know where it's coming from. So you might hear somebody say, well, it feels right. Why? Well, because they don't know that it's like their subconscious experience. I had this thing happen to me like 10 years ago. I have these values that, are suddenly coming out. I didn't do this one thing a long time ago, and because of that, I had this other problem. You don't remember any of this stuff, and yet, for some reason, some new thing comes up, and everything is connected. It's all connected. Time, space, actions, no actions, people, everything is connected with a blue brain. And it's connected in this kind of sensitivity thing because they are feeling, if you will, okay, based on subconscious experience and the emotions associated with those experiences. Okay? So, after they kind of, and blue brains are kind of multitasking. I mean, out of all the brain colors, this is the real multitasking brain. And of course, women, are better multitaskers than men. But a blue brain woman is like the kind of woman that could be like, cooking dinner, taking care of the baby, on a business call, and painting the ceiling all at the same time. Okay, while a blue brain man is probably going to be as good as our regular woman. Okay, well, in multitasking, of course. And so, the blue brain now is going to have this little bits of action and kind of a little bit of kind of testing and feeling and a little bit of information, and they just kind of, they process as they go. Okay? So it's not like they do something and then they take action, and not like the green brains either, where they just get like a little bit of information and take action. They're kind of like, feeling and doing and getting feedback and, and doing stuff and actioning as they go. So, here's the thing, okay? I would like you to just try something really quick. I want you to imagine that you have to build a house on the moon, all right? Close your eyes, okay? You're building a house on the moon. You are required to build a house on the moon, all right? And if I said close your eyes, you didn't close your eyes. Okay, close your eyes, okay? You're required to build a house on the moon. Now, imagine what do you need to do? Imagine the 5 most important things that you need to do in order to build a house on the moon. Got it? Okay, type them in here in the little chat thing. Okay? Just kind of think about it. 5 most important things you need to do. Okay? Type them in. Okay? Coming? Okay. Now I want you to imagine. Okay, well let me first of all, let me explain, while you guys are typing this stuff in, let me explain why I'm asking you to do this. First of all, if I asked you building a regular house, or if I asked you manage a project, you've probably done these things before, okay? Maybe you built a house, maybe you have managed some project, maybe you've got something, whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is, you would be answering this question based on experience. Now, I am guessing that most of you on this webinar have not actually built a house on the moon, which basically means that it's a new experience. So therefore, you are using your natural process to actually do it. Now, I want you to review the answers that you wrote down here, okay? And I want you to think of what colored brain is that more closely related to, okay? Now, of course, there's the Colored Brain Communication Inventory, the CBCI, which actually measures your colored brain, and also, very importantly, your miscommunication insights. Who are the people that you miscommunicate most with, and basically how you can deal with them in better ways. Okay, different thing. We'll talk about that in a different in a different webinar. Okay, but now you can see how you've got this whole thing. Now let's talk about motivation. Motivation is the other side. Okay, so we've got how you do things, which is colored brain. Now let's look at the other side. Why you do things. And now, of course, Rama has his rainbow glasses of clarity. Dun, dun, dun. But now he is going for the super energy of action. Okay? So the super energy of action, it's right there. He's reaching for it. He's trying to grab it. But first of all, Mary brings him down. It's like, dude, you got to understand the 8 emotional drivers. There are basically 8 primary motivators. And when you have these 8, okay, you are going to rank them in order of importance. Now, here's the thing, okay? Each mix creates a different type of characteristic. For example, let's say you have the emotional drive for recognition, and you also have the emotional drive for achievement. Well, recognition by itself means, hey, look at me, I'm so awesome. Okay? Achievement by itself means I got to finish things. It doesn't have to be big things. It could be small things. It could be putting your picture of your cat on Facebook. Okay? It doesn't have to be something big. But now you combine significance, you combine or significance and recognition, you combine achievement, and what do you get? You get ambition. You get people that are going to, hey, I'm not going to do small things, I'm going to do big things. Why? Because I want to be recognized. I want to finish big things. I want to, create all this really cool stuff. Okay? In case you haven't noticed, okay, Avalon, my resort in Bali, is a very significance-related kind of structure. Okay, and you can see kind of my little office area here, and it's not exactly calm. Okay, so that would give you an idea of some of the things that, some of my emotional drives, achievement and significance and recognition. Okay, so how that mixes though with somebody else. What if you have somebody else that also has high significance and achievement? Okay, well, depends. It depends on if they have love and belonging, maybe. Okay, because if you have love and belonging in this, you have, okay, well, hey, let's get together, let's support each other, let's do things together. Bam. But let's say you got one person over here, they have security and control. They just want to control everything. Okay, and you got this other person here that's like all about growth. And these guys want to be secure, and these guys want to be about growth. And they don't have really much security and control. What is that going to be? That's going to be conflict. My way. No, my way. This is the best way. No, you're wrong. Okay? And, well, understanding the emotional drives and combining them, okay, with colored brain gives you what we call predictive psychology. You can actually predict the behaviors of what happens when you put people together in a group. So what can you predict? You can predict team dynamics, boss dynamics. I mean, think about it. You hire this new guy, you put him in with this boss, and the guy is really great, and the boss is really great, but suddenly, bam, you have conflict, and both the boss and the new awesome employee burn in flames and basically end up being underperformers. Or even the team, you've got a great team over here, and you got a new guy that's been awesome, and you put them together and explodes. Or sometimes you get a mediocre guy and a mediocre team. And just with the right mix, you get awesomeness. Why? Well, because if you understand the mix, it's just like cooking, right? Put a little vanilla in something, you know what you're going to get. You put a little bit of salt in something, you know what you're going to get. Okay? So, relationship dynamics, okay? All of this ready to support creating high-performance people working in groups, okay? And Rama and his buddies now go to the cafe because Rama wants to get the Cape of Flight. Dun, dun, dun. And we got to figure out, well, what exactly is going on. So, what motivates you? What makes you do awesome things, okay? What demotivates you? What makes you curl up and say, you know what, I'm done. I give up. What makes you become an underperformer? Okay? What makes you want to say, yes, I want to do that? What influences you to be excited about something, to take action on something? But here's the thing. Remember that first scroll, the scroll of environment? See, if you have an understanding of that environment, you also have an understanding of how you are affecting people around you. So if you are a leader, you know how you're affecting people around you. Knowing that is going to support your greater success because, well, if you're aware, you have more potential to change things. While if you're unaware, well, okay? So, here's the key. If you're a trainer, the people that you are working with, helping them to create this awareness of how they are acting and reacting and what role they are playing in the group dynamics is a key factor to their success. And this is what directive communication psychology does. So off we go, and Rama now has the Cape of Flight. Dun, dun, dun! So, one of the key things is about language, right? Within the directive communication methodology, we have all sorts of language. We have, like, the colored brain. We've got the colors associated with that language. We've got emotional drives. We've got need sucking. We've got the whole, are you blaming thing that goes with the no blame zone. We've got this whole set of language. And see, the thing is that language connects learning. When you remember the buzzwords, especially weird buzzwords that are not really common, for example, need sucking, or, oh, you are so green today. It's like, huh? Okay, and so all of the different language helps you to communicate big ideas, big concepts without conflict. And if you can communicate without conflict, that means you can solve problems faster and easier and support each other to creating the ideal working environment. And our friends here are basically connecting with each other, understanding how the language connects and makes and gives them the awareness of why you are like that. And so that brings us to a study that we did in 2014. Okay, how the awareness of brain psychology affects you. Now, let's just quickly go through this, okay? First of all, you have influences. You have environmental influences, basically emotional drives. These can change, okay? Then you have genetics, okay? For example, colored brain. Those all connect to your personal reality. So your environmental influences are things like media, friends, work, culture, parents, basically everything that's in your environment, even, well, yeah, TV especially, okay, YouTube, okay? And your personal reality is then created based on the environmental and the genetic influences. Now, mix that together with a group of other people. Well, depending on the group and depending on how aware you are, well, it could create misinterpretations, misperceptions, frustration, lack of clarity, conflict, okay? And so being unaware is not really going to, make you a happy camper, okay? Which also, of course, creates low motivation, misalignment, stress, bigger problems, low productivity. But here's the worst part. You become an underperformer, and that's not all. Not only does that affect you personally, but because you are an underperformer, it has negative effects on the environment, which means you are, without even realizing it, negatively affecting the environment. And that would suck. So, this is why we need to have directive communication psychology, so that we can be aware. And in this study, we found that leaders who are more aware of the psychology of self and how and where they focus and what they delete, what their encoded assumptions are, another word from the directive communication profiling, okay? Encoded assumptions are essentially assumptions that you make about how things should be, and they get encoded through various processes throughout life, okay? Knowing your colored brain and basically the colored glasses that you see things through. So this is the fundamental awareness. Now, combine that with environmental awareness, values, cultural compliance. How compliant are you to the culture of the country that you live in, as well as oftentimes the organization that you're in. Oftentimes, of course, the organization basically creating you as an underperformer. Now, of course, emotional drives is also the foundation of this, of the environmental awareness. Now, the next one, genetic awareness. Okay, optimism. Yes, optimism is genetic. Okay, it's basically how much of an enzyme called P300 your brain produces and the receptors for it. More you have, more optimistic you are. The less you have, the world will end tomorrow. Okay? Colored brain, how you process, interpret information before you take action. Okay? And of course, risk adversity is also part of the genetic foundations. Okay? Higher awareness. Okay? The Interpersonal agility, your identity in groups. Different groups, you'll have different identities. Okay? What do different groups bring out in you? Understanding that, being aware of that, and how you can harness some of this stuff to create your own ideal self models is cool and very important to becoming that next level of leader, of trainer, of basically awesome human being. Okay? And of course, more mental and emotional agility. This is about your core identity. It's who you are before all the stuff got to you. It's like the person that you were before people started making you less by situations, by accusations, by whatever. Okay? Before the environment really started to affect you in a potentially negative way, before any of the environment, who were you? And one of the easy questions to start this is, well, what did you want to be when you first, when you were a kid? When you grew up, what did you want to be? Okay? Think about that and think about the meaning behind the job. Not the job itself, but what was the meaning behind the job? And of course, when you are aware and you apply this with other people, well, then you're able to apply strategy. And with strategy, that also means that you are able to act and deal with situations intelligently, which basically gives you less communication, less miscommunication, less frustration, more clarity, less conflict. Okay? You're basically more into or able to have self-leadership. You're self-motivated, okay, self-directed. You can influence yourself. You're happier basically because you got less stress. You're more productive, more motivated, more alignment with everything. And well, basically you are a change leader and influencer. And this is what we found, that people who are aware are more productive, happier, better change leaders. People who are unaware are creating problems in their organizations without even realizing it because they are unaware. And directive communication basically solves this problem. If you are aware, you have a positive effect on the entire environment, not just on yourself. And so off we go to teamwork. Now you may have seen something like this happen before, where you got the guys going like, no, that's not my job. Okay, and you know, the lizards that Jack is playing with, well, what do you say? What can you say? They're lizards. They're reacting using the reptilian brain. Okay, and they aren't really together. While on the other hand, our heroes have a common goal and basically practice, a common way of doing things, a core methodology, i.e. directive communication psychology, in order to unify the team. But now let me just quickly tell you a little bit about directive communication psychology. Let me tell you where it came from, okay? Some of you have heard this story before, and if you have, well, you're going to hear it again. So here it is, okay? I used to be managing director of this consulting company, and every project that I worked on was perfect. It was awesome. Every project was successful. So you know what happened? I started to think, I am so awesome. You can't touch me. I am like, you know, the cat's meow. So my head started to get big, and well, you know, that also had some other issues. So I started to become a little bit, well, let's say, conceited. So I decided, hey, I'm so awesome. I'm going to take all my money and I'm going to start my own business. So I moved to Singapore, and I took all my money and I borrowed another $500,000, and I went and I started this new company. And I knew everything was going to be awesome. I knew it was going to all work out. I knew it was going to be great. You know how when you first start something, you've got like this whole idea of, you know, it's going to be awesome, right? Well, here's what happened, okay? Leadership problems. I was the leader, okay? And within a year and a half, I was not only broke, but I was $500,000 in debt. So I needed to get a job. So I got this job. I got this really cool job as a as a department head in a big company. And so I go into this company and I'm thinking, wow, you remember when you first got a really cool job, and you're also thinking, wow, this is going to be great. You could see the future, and you could see how much difference and value you're going to be able to make and add to the organization. You've got all these passion and excitement, and you're fully engaged. And then about 3 weeks later, I started noticing that people are blaming each other. And I'm thinking, oh man, what is wrong with these people? Just come on, man. Okay? And then I started noticing that, people weren't really that cooperating, but, I had this really cool idea. So I thought, okay, no problem. I can make a difference here. So I had this really cool idea, and I went to this other department head, and I thought, hey, you've got some resources, and I've got some resources, and we can work together and look at all this great stuff that we can do. And he says, look, Arthur, I understand that you're new here. But look, you do your thing with your resources. I'll do my thing with my resources. And I'm like, man. Because I couldn't proceed, and I felt stuck, but I knew I could make a difference. 4.5 months later, without even realizing it, I started blaming people, and people, this guy over here and this guy over here, and then people would come up to me and say, hey, Arthur, can you help me with this thing, and we could work together. I said, look, you do your thing, I'll do my thing. I got sucked in. I got sucked in to this environment. I became these guys. Even though when I went in, I was the hero. But I became the lizard. And I didn't even realize it. And at home, I was less happy. I would go home, it's like, oh my gosh, finally 5 o'clock. Okay, I get to go home. The weekend would come, it's like, oh, fantastic, I get the weekend. Life sucked because my job sucked. At least my perception of who I was down. And that wasn't me. I am not that kind of person. I am not a person who basically, is down about stuff. I'm generally very positive, and yet I got sucked in. And here's the worst part. I'm usually a person that puts 100% into his job, and yet I was putting in maybe 70% real effort into my job. Why? Because it's like, even if I do this, it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to care. It's just going to get shot down. Why should I bother? I became jaded. I gave up. And I felt like I was unable to really move forward because I couldn't quit, because I needed the money. And so I ended up living this on a daily basis until one day when I looked in the mirror and I said, man, you suck. I've given up on anything. I wasn't trying. I wasn't trying to, I wasn't really being my best. I was being an underperformer, an underachiever. And I didn't want to be that anymore. So I went and I talked to these other bad people that were making my life difficult, and I found out something very unexpected. I found out that they were real human beings, that they actually had real potential, real desires, real standards that were very similar to mine. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. They also just got sucked in. So it's not the people. It's how the people were reacting to the problem or to the environment. So I thought, okay, if it's not about the people, well then it's, there's something bigger here, this environment thing. So I started doing research, and then I started doing research about, brain processing and motivation and, the mind-body connection and all this stuff that eventually led to directive communication psychology discipline. And after a while, I kind of tested this out. And within about 3 weeks, we ended up saving the company $17,000 a week in wastage. $17,000 a week in wastage. And after that, I'm thinking, wow, well, this stuff really works. I started writing articles, and I started then, getting in the newspapers, and then people called me to be on radio, then I got on TV, then people started calling me, hey, can we do this for you? Can you do this for us? And so I was able to quit my job shortly after that, and here I am. That was in 2001, and here we are. 16 years later. So, directive communication psychology literally can save your life if you could relate to any one of those issues that I was facing. It can change your direction. So, of course, what do we need to be? Well, we need to be heroes in order to unify our team with a core methodology. See, now, why is directive communication a core methodology? Well, okay, let's look at the idea of leadership. You need an understanding of human psychology and how humans act and react to each other in order to be a good leader, right? Well, what about customer service? You need to know how people, human beings, react and act in a specific situation and how to modify those the reactions, right? Okay, and what about project management? Well, you need to know how people are acting and reacting in groups and basically how to affect those actions. It doesn't matter whether it's sales or negotiation or leadership or project management, any soft skills related to human beings working together in groups of 2 or more is going to be supported and improved with the foundational psychology, directive communication psychology. So imagine if you just understand directive communication psychology, do you need to go for massive amounts of leadership training again and again and again, or could you just have applications of leadership? And if you have this already, you could also have applications of customer service, or applications of project management, or applications of negotiation using the same core methodology, which of course reinforces it every single time because you have multiple applications of the same foundation. And so directive communication psychology is literally the core foundation for creating positive organizational culture change. And we do have, of course, our whole culture program. And here are some of the internationally accredited certifications that you can get with directive communication psychology. Now, we have the practitioner certifications. Okay, so we've got the practitioner certifications in colored brain, in emotional drive and human motivation, in DC postures, in influence and identity, and of course we have the general overall directive communication certified practitioner. Now, if you are really on the main track to make a big impact, then of course we have the people developer certification, which basically you get at the same time that you get your certified trainer certification, depending on which one you want to use. Okay, both of them take the same course. And of course, there is the gamification certification, because directive communication also believes that people who are having fun at work are more engaged. And if you can connect fun, personal development, and work all together, well, basically you have more effective, more engaged people. And so we have a whole certification on how to gamify work processes in order to get more engagement and more productivity. And of course, there's the Directive Communication Certified Master Trainer and the Directive Communication Culture Change Certification, where we go into a company and literally completely change the organizational culture. And so now all of these are accredited by the American Institute of Business Psychology. So they're not just some certifications that we made up. These are accredited certifications, internationally accredited by the American Institute of Business Psychology. And here's the best part. If you are, for example, a directive communication certified trainer, okay, you can provide AIOBP calls the achievement level certification in leadership psychology. So if somebody takes a 3-day directive communication program, okay, and you are a certified directive communication trainer, and they go through a process of outlining and detailing the actions that they have taken after the course over a 3-month period. But these are, okay, it's not like that. It doesn't, even though it sounds big, it's not like writing a 20,000 page report or a 20,000 word report. Basically, you're looking at showing pictures and short comments of implementing specifically 5 things that you have learned through that 3-day course over a 3-month period will get you the equivalent of a diploma in leadership psychology as a certified or making you certified in leadership psychology. And so that brings us to the end of our webinar. And so if you've got any questions, I see that a lot of you have put some questions down, and I hope that they've been answered. If not, don't worry, we'll be getting back to you shortly. And we have here the next step, okay? Create your success map. Listen to, kind of, I hope that you've been making some notes. So now, go through the notes, create a map of how you're going to apply this, where you're going to apply it, what you're going to do with it, and how this is going to make your life as a leader, as a trainer, better in order to achieve your greater goals. And in the next webinar, now this is specifically for people who are trainers, okay, and want to really grow your business, and not just grow it in a little bit, but like grow it at least 3 times of what it is right now. So in the next webinar, we're going to share with you the 3 strategies to grow your training business, okay, 3 times, okay, on an international scale. 3 strategies to grow your business 3 times in the next webinar. So look out for the link in your email, or you're probably already registered for it, but make sure that you get the right time, because we're only going to have 2 of them available. And so get ready to get the next level. And this is Arthur Carmazzi wishing you great success. And we will continue to answer a few more questions. Until then, have a great day.